Hey, I wanted to read just a section of one of the Devos from today. It's called Faith That Doesn't Ask, about having so much faith that sometimes you don't even have to pray. And I really liked this one, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think I'll read just a sliver of it, and then we'll read that section in the Bible really quick, because this is the one that stuck with me today. And I can't say these guys' names, so I apologize for saying them wrong in advance, but all right, sometimes the greatest act of faith is not to ask for a miracle. One of the most amazing statements of faith in the Old Testament came from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. As they faced the fiery furnace because of their obedience to God. They expressed true faith when they assured King Nebuchadnezzar, if the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up. They were confident in God's ability to deliver them, but they trusted him so completely that they did not ask to be spared. That's awesome. Because these days, all you ever hear about is people saying like, oh, pray, I'll pray for you, you pray for yourself, everybody's got to pray, as if it's just... And I'm not trying to downplay the power of prayer, but it's like, oh, you have to, as if there's control in that prayer. Like, oh, if you just pray, you can control God, in a sense, you know. And these people were like, they're just like all confident. And they're like, chill. They don't even pray. They're just like, our God can save us. And even if he doesn't, we're still like, we just trust fully and have so much faith, and they don't even pray. It's awesome. I like that about that one. So let's read it real quick. And it's in Daniel. We'll read like 3 or 4 paragraphs, but so anyway, this guy gets all mad. He's gonna burn these people up in the fire, right? And then they end up living. They like don't get burned up. So here are their names again. I hate that I have to read these hard names, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whatever, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up the 3 men and throw them into the blazing furnace. These men, wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and then thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up the 3 men. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped up to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted to the 3 men, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So the 3 men came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise be to the God of the 3 men, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. Isn't that so awesome? That's so awesome. I love that story. And this is where, not to get into the controversy, but this is where I like the King James version better than like my NIV. This is my NIV. Because in the King James version, there's like a whole section about that story. But which is removed from this NIV. But we won't get into that stuff later because I know people, it's a hot topic. Anyway, have an awesome day. Bye.